The secret of success is welcoming as opportunities whatever obstacles confront you.
Good morning, friends, and welcome. Let's start with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Master Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. We invoke thy presence in this satsang today. Fill our hearts with thy love. Fill our minds with thy consciousness. Fill our souls completely with thee. We long to know thee. Be with us now as we attune ourselves to thee. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We'll have some chanting now by Bara and Shamani, and then we'll meditate together. Welcome again, friends.
We're going to chant Saint Teresa of Avila's admonition. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you. All things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone is all we ever need. Nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Nothing disturb you, nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you. All things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you. All things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you. All things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. Let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you, all things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory. Once you have God, you'll want nothing more. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need. God alone, God alone, God alone's all we ever need.
Now, let's sit upright. Take a deep breath, double inhalation. Tint your whole body. Exhale and relax deeply. Twice more. And feel yourself now as space beyond the little body. Your consciousness is merging with cosmic consciousness everywhere in infinity. Feel yourself uplifted beyond the body, the thoughts, your little life, into the life of God. Let's meditate for a few minutes together now. from Affirmations for Self-Healing by Swami Kriyanandaji on willpower. Willpower, and not the vague abstraction, luck, is the secret of true achievement. Willpower on subtle energy levels generates what only looks like luck by magnetically attracting to us opportunities. Our will is strengthened by removing from our minds the no-saying tendency, the obstructions of doubt, of laziness, and of fear, yes, even of the fear of success. Willpower is developed by persevering to the conclusion of whatever one attempts. One should start first with little undertakings, then proceed to bigger ones. Infinite willpower comes from harnessing the little human will to God's infinite, all-powerful consciousness. Please affirm with me. My will is to do that which is right to do. My will is to do that which is right to do. Part, all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. My will is to do that which is right to do. My will is to do that which is right to do. Part, all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. My will is to do that which is right to do. Part, all you mountains that stand in my way. Nothing can stop my progress. Pray silently. O infinite power, I will use my will, but guide thou my will in everything I do, that it reflect thy will. Om Shanti Shanti. We'll have a song now with Bara and Shamini.
We'll sing Life is a Dream. Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere, love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar, it can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar, it can guide us and help us toward light to draw
excerpt from a talk by Swami Kriyanandaji.
So the Guru sometimes allows you to go through suffering. I have been through many, many tests in my life. They've caused me much suffering. But I have to say that I was grateful for them. Every time I found in the end that they were for my blessing. I went through a great period of pain one time, and Anandamoyi Ma, the great woman, Bengali saint, she said, "Take this as your Guru's blessing." She sent this in a letter to me in America. And I thought, blessing? That's the one word I can't understand in this context. But you know, years later I realized it was the greatest blessing that could have come. If you don't let yourself just fall apart underneath your tests, if you say, all right, I accept it, and you don't understand it, then just go along with it. Accept what God gives you. Don't rail against Him. Don't say God is unjust. How often have I heard that expression? Why does God do this to me? Why does God do that to them? There's a reason. You know, one very interesting thing is that of all the people who have found God, you don't find one of them saying, what a scam. They all say it was worth it. They've all had to go through sufferings. They've all had to go through pain, grief, torment. Yes, that's life. Where there is life, there will be pain and there will be happiness. But those who have accepted it find that if they endure, if they keep their faith, at the end, this is the wonderful thing I've discovered, and I've had a few years of living on the path, 55, that's not many years in eternity, but in a person's life, it's a fair amount. I can say without any equivocation at all that every single test I've endured, and some of them were fierce, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what I learned. I'm grateful for the strength I gained. I'm grateful for the joy I felt at the end of them, and finally I reached the point where even during the tests I felt joy, because I saw that I knew God was there. I knew He was having His fun with me, but you might say, what a bizarre sense of humor. Yeah, sometimes it seems that way, but in the end you find that you're not laughing, not being laughed at, you're laughing with Him.
We'll have the readings now, first from the Gita.
Good morning. Good morning. This is a reading from the Essence of the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Today's reading is from chapter 11, Krishna's Consolation. Stanza 10, which was not quoted above, but was contained by implication in the overall summary, states that Krishna, before exhorting Arjuna to the battle, spoke as if smiling. This phrase, Yogananda said, is important because it indicates that God is no stern judge of human behavior, but is on our side. He wants us to advance spiritually and forever forgives us if we err. The words, as if smiling, indicate that Arjuna had already advanced far on the path to win such an indication of God's love. As Krishna remains inactive during the war and participates only to guide Arjuna's chariot, so he often seems remote to the devotee and even indifferent to the most earnest efforts to attain him. Krishna's smile, however, is ever there for those who seek him earnestly. It is not easily won, but loving reassurance is given from time to time in one form or the another. The devotee feels God's loving support in his heart. In time, his consciousness, and he is conscious of that inward smile. It is with this smile that Krishna gives his discourse in the Bhagavad Gita. It is the sweetest love that God exhorts the devotee to seek him unconditionally as the only source of fulfillment there is. The devotee, meanwhile, should not await as if anxiously God's smile of reassurance, but should proceed even-mindedly towards his goal of performing ever calmly his karmically assigned duties. To be even-minded and cheerful under all circumstances is the first duty of the yogi. This obviously does not mean being cheerful about other people's suffering. One must respect and even empathize with their pains, as Krishna did. As regards to one's pains, however, the aspiring yogi must firmly banish all thought of ego identification with both pleasure and pain. Pain may be, in fact, be happening, but he must not think of it as his own. The more he can resist the oppositional states of nature, Maya's dualities, the more he will find that he can remain inwardly calm under all circumstances.
Thank you, Pranita. I'd like to start with the reading from Songs of the Soul by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji. This is entitled, My Soul is Marching On. Master says before this poem, never be discouraged by this motion picture of life. Salvation is for all. Just remember that no matter what happens to you, still your soul is marching on. And the poem, the shining stars are sunk in darkness deep. The weary sun is dead at night. The moon's soft smile doth fade anon. But still my soul is marching on. The grinding wheel of time hath crushed full many a life of moon and star, and many a brightly smiling morn. But my soul is marching on. The flowers bloomed, then hid in gloom. The bounty of the trees did cease. Colossal men have come and gone, but still my soul is marching on. The eons one by one are flying. My arrows one by one are gone. Dimly, slowly, life is fading, but still my soul is marching on. Darkness, death, and failures vied to block my path. They fiercely tried. My fight with jealous natures strong, but still my soul is marching on. I think this is one of the most beautiful poems of Master, and it shows the strength, the inner strength and determination and the will and the openness to God's power to move forward on the path. And this is why we take a vow. Keep me steadfast until I realize thee. Help me, guide me, support me, encourage me, as Krishna did with Arjuna, until I reach my goal of self-realization. And along the way, there are tests, there's pitfalls, there's trials, there's difficulties, there's delusions. They're just waiting along the sidelines to pull us in one direction or another. And everyone goes through them. But still our soul has to be marching on forward. And I was remembering a story of Siddhartha, the Buddha, when he was protected in his kingdom at first, and then he went beyond the kingdom with one of his companions took him, and he saw someone he had never seen anything but the beauties of his kingdom. And he went outside there and he saw someone obviously wasn't well. And he asked his friend, his companion, "Oh, brother, what's wrong with him?" And he says, "Oh, my Lord, he's ill." And Siddhartha says, "Oh, does that happen to everybody?" And then his companion says, "Yes, my Lord, it happens to everyone." And then they went further away, further down the way, and they saw someone who was old. And obviously, and Siddhartha asked his friend, he said, "Oh, what's wrong with him?" And he says, "Oh, my Lord, he's aged, he's old." And Siddhartha asks, he says, "Does that happen to everybody?" And he says, "Yes, my Lord, it happens to everyone." And they went further down the way, and someone had died. And Siddhartha asked his friend, "What has happened? Brother, what has happened to him?" And he says, "Oh, my Lord, he has died." And Siddhartha says, "Does that happen to everyone?" And he says, "Yes, my Lord, it does." And this is why Siddhartha went on his quest and became the Buddha. He wanted to find the true reality behind life, behind pain, behind suffering, behind illness, behind death. He was seeking what is the ultimate truth that is within us. And this is what we're seeking on our path as well. And through different trials, we have difficulties in relationships or with health or finances or various things that come all the time. And we wonder, does this happen to everyone? Yes, it does. In one way or another, these trials come to everyone. And I was remembering Master's chant, "I have made thee pole star of my life." If we can put our hand in God's, if we rely and have faith in God, if we pray with devotion and love and do our practices and chant and sing Swamiji's songs and have satsang and do seva, we have our hand in the hand of God. We rely on God. We have faith that no matter what the trials are, and God knows we've all had many, that he pulls us through those trials. And I was recalling the beautiful story of Saint Anthony, who Master said he was a great, great saint, and he lived in the desert for over 100 years, 60 years. He lived to be 120 years old. And Master said he found God. And he was there meditating, praying, and every test that could come came to him. And finally, Satan himself came to him and said, you have to forget about God. God isn't helping you. Leave your faith. And St. Anthony said, I won't let go of God. I won't give up my faith. And Satan said, in that case, I'm going to crack this cave. I'm going to crack the tomb. I'm going to destroy you. And everything around him, where he was, began to crack and break. And then finally, Anthony kept crying out to Christ, to Jesus, for his help. Finally, at the 11th hour, and many times you feel it, at the very end, in one way or another, as Swamiji said, God shows his hand, and Christ appeared to Anthony. And Anthony saw him, St. Anthony, and he said, Lord, why didn't you come before? I was praying to you, crying to you. Why didn't you come before? I've gone through so much agony. And then Christ said to Anthony, I was just the same with you. And that's how Master says it on this recording. Anthony, I was just the same with you, meaning I was there all the time. I helped you through every crisis that you've gone through. But we have to do our part as well. And Master said, if we can keep our consciousness uplifted during every trial at the Kutastha, the spiritual eye, through all of our practices, to keep uplifted, no matter what happens, don't let go. Sometimes you feel like you're hanging on by a thick rope to God and Guru. Sometimes it's a thread, you're barely hanging on to it. You can barely hold it. The Master said, if you keep your consciousness up, you will be able to overcome and realize life or death, pain or not pain, happiness or not being happy, all the dualities, good and evil, all of these, they merge into the one light. As you go deeper and deeper in yourself, you realize life is a dream. Everything that comes takes us further and further toward our goal in that light. And Master said, he said, I'm going to show you. You probably don't believe me. He said, I'm going to show you what I mean about lifting your gaze up. And at a certain point, a wishing well fell on Master's foot. And he just grimaced. He was in so much pain. And he chose that moment to teach the devotees. He says, now watch. When I lift my consciousness up, I won't feel the pain. We are so blessed to have these practices to lift our consciousness up. And Master showed, he said, watch now. And he put his consciousness at the Kutastha Chaitanya. And his face was just very normal. And then he said, now I'm going to let it drop back down, my consciousness, into the pain. And as he did, they saw him and he just grimaced with pain. He said, now I'm going to lift it back up. And this is what he's teaching us. Bring your consciousness up. Keep it up no matter what happens. And you will be able to find that the light is there, that God is there, that gurus are there, and that their guidance, their blessings, their grace, they are there. And Master himself went through many trials. Many of you know he went through difficulties. Someone asked many difficulties. It wasn't easy for him. He lost his mother at the age of 10 or 12. He lost his guru. He had to go to America. This wasn't easy for him. He wrote a letter back to Rajasi at one point and said, if it weren't for you and a few others, I wouldn't come back to America. He was treated badly many times. There was a lack of funding often. There, you probably remember the kind of humorous story where they had to, all they had was tomatoes to eat, the devotees. They had tomatoes, they had tomato soup, they had tomato stew there. And then one of his ashrams fell into the Pacific Ocean. His best friend betrayed him. He had many health difficulties. He didn't have an easy time. But he held on to God. And he showed us by the example, no matter what happens, cling to God. And same with Swamiji, one test after another. When he founded Ananda, he said, I prayed that Divine Mother would send someone to help us to be able to build this work and financially help us. And he said, she didn't. I love that because he said, I hoped that she would, but she didn't. And so those of us who were there, we band together, we pooled our resources, we did our seva, and we built that community ourselves. And he said, we gained from the tests, we gained in strength, we gained in attunement, we gained in mental clarity, we gained in energy, we gained in magnetism. Every test that you go through, you're gaining. You're gaining. And everyone you say, oh, please don't bother me now. I want a happy life at the beach. Well, our life isn't a happy life at the beach. Our life is a life of a warrior to get rid of your karma. Nobody's made that karma but yourself. And there was the wonderful story of, you think of Yanamata for 20 years. She was ill in bed, and Master didn't heal her. He could have easily healed her. He didn't heal her. She was there. She was working out her karma. She was helping him with his work. He let it happen. And then he said, you won't go until I let you go, meaning leaving the body. But when she went, she was completely free. He had the devotees feel her feet when she left her body, and they were like ice. Then he said, now feel the top of her head. And it was like a heater. He said, that means she's gone, left this through the top of the head, Saraswati chakra, never to have to come back again. All the karma you have, you want to work it out. And that fellow, Horace, who was the spastic, who could barely walk and talk. And once a devotee disciple was passing by Master, and she had that thought in her mind, why doesn't Master heal him? Why doesn't he help this poor man? Master caught that thought, and he looked at her, and he said to this disciple, the woman, isn't it wonderful that Horace is working out all the karma that gave him that ailment? Isn't it just wonderful? And she realized he was working out his karma. Master could have healed him, but it was up to the disciple to help himself. And at the end of his life, he still couldn't walk. He could barely move, but he still served on the ground, pulling weeds, just lying there. He couldn't even move hardly, but he kept serving, pulling the weeds in the garden to serve his guru. What guru God gives, we take. And that beautiful story of the man who was the disciple of a great master who would just, his duty was just to carry wood. And he kept wanting to go into the discourses, and the guru said, no, you just carried wood his whole life. And he never was allowed to come in. And this for him was a great test. And so I read about that story again just yesterday. And there's a part of it I think people don't realize. As he was carrying the wood, he was thinking of God. As he did his seva, he was grateful to his guru for giving him that seva, for allowing him to serve, for giving him the blessings that he was getting. And then at a certain point, at the end of his life, when he found his hair had turned gray. He started to weep, and his guru ran out and grabbed the first tear. He said, what are you doing? You don't know what you've achieved. If someone such as yourself, if one tear touches the ground, the whole place would be in famine for years. He said, you don't know what you've achieved. How do we know? No, don't give me this test. No, don't ask me to do that. No, I don't want to do this. We're working out everything we have to work out to be completely free. And I remember a time I was going through deep difficulties, and I didn't know what was up and what was down. And I went to Swami Kriyanandaji, and I just didn't know what to do. And I said, Swamiji, I just don't know what to do. I just can't pull out of it. And he looked at me, and I'm so grateful for that training. He looked in my eyes and he said, Dhyana, look what it takes to find God. I was shocked. I thought he would say, oh, you poor girl, how can I help you? And he said, look what it takes to find God. And that stiffened my spine. And then after that, he said, look what I've had to go through. And this was 2 or 3 years before Swamiji left his body. And I thought, oh God, how could anybody go through what he's gone through? And then he just looked at me again. He said, you can do it. And for all of us, let us remember, we have the strength to do it. I remember, to close with this, another time, and I was new at Ananda, and there were so many difficulties. At least I thought there were difficulties at that point, and I just couldn't get out of it. And I remember my mother said to me so sweetly, she said, Dhyana, whatever you're learning at Ananda, you need to use that now. And I was like, Master spoke through her. And I say the same to you all. Whatever we're learning through Ananda, through Master, through our gurus, through Swamiji, we have to use that now and in any test that comes. And we will find, like Rajasi, he was in complete darkness. After being in complete light for so many years, he found God in 3 years. But at the end of that time when he was seeking, it was only darkness. And then what did he do? He kept meditating. He didn't say, oh, this is just darkness, I'm going to forget it now. He said, oh, I'm just going to keep meditating. Oh, I'm going to keep doing my sadhana. Oh, I'm going to keep praying. I'm going to keep in tune with my guru. And he just kept meditating. And one day he saw a speck of light. And that's all. And he thought, well, I'm going to look at that speck of light. You might have a speck of joy. And Master said, blow on it. If it's a speck, if it's a bubble, make it bigger. And he looked at that speck and it got bigger. The light got bigger as he kept his meditations going. And then the light just was overwhelming, that overwhelming light. And through that, Master came, Sri Yukteswarji came, and meaning he was in the spiritual eye. Sri Yukteswarji said, all is well now. All, one by one, all the gurus came, and he was free. Let us not forget the goal. There may be difficulties all along the way, but the goal is God alone. And as Swami Lady Mahashaya said, if you bring God into the summer of your life, he'll be with you in the winter as well. God bless you all. Let's close hearing this song of Swami Kriyanandaji's. Meditate on these beautiful words of this song.
To death I'm a stranger, poor youth that I am. What destiny bears me hence to that shore? The chalice of life, scarce sipped at the brim, has slipped from my grasp and stains the dark floor. Has life any meaning? The grail that men seek has never been found on earth. The fountain of youth, only a myth. None who ever roamed far in search of it ever found what he sought. Yet see how the night sky, which banishes the sun, is banished in time by the dawn. Death comes like a gypsy who camps on the way, At dawn his dark caravan's gone. To death I'm a stranger, yet strangest of all. The stranger I feared is a stranger no more. Can shadows strike fear that hides from the sun? In death there is peace. On God's infinite shore, yet see how the night sky which banishes the sun is banished in time by the dawn. Death comes like a gypsy who camps on the way. At dawn his dark caravans gone.
We'll have the arati and blessing now.
Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, 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 Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Father, mother, friend our God, we thy wonders all acclaim. Father, mother, friend our God, we thy wonders all acclaim. May our thoughts be only of thee, train our hearts to sing thy name. May our thoughts be only of thee, train our hearts to sing thy name. All desires born of delusion, here we lay, Lord, at thy feet. All desires born of delusion, here we lay, Lord, at thy feet. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever one with thee. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever one with thee. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever one with thee.
Gazing into the light, feel a blessing from God and from the great masters today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's close now with the healing prayer. And let's first do a prayer, a special prayer for Udaj, one of our members in Gurgaon. Here's his picture here. He's in hospital now. His father is Kamal, one of our longtime members. And Udaj has been battling with cancer, and he's been in ICU. So please let us hold him in Master's arms. Feel all the gurus around him. Around Kamal, his whole family. Feel the vibrations of the masters entering into his body, his mind, uplifting his soul. Let's rub the hands together. Let's pray. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in Udaj. Manifest thy healing power in his body, mind, and soul. Om. 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 Now for all others who you know who are in need, visualize them now. Feel a blessing and light going to them, healing them in body, mind, soul. Om. 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 Let's close with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, Guru preceptors, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Layadi Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Master, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. Infuse us with thy love, with thy joy. Guide us on this pathway and keep us steadfast until we realize thee. Through all tests and all trials, may we see thy hidden hand, thy guidance, and thy love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.